This meeting is being recorded. Continue. I accepted the fact that the meeting was being recorded.
Well, here we are then, John. We're at our second Q&A for Theatre Talk with this very special 40th anniversary, 40th CATTER-VERSARY, we should say, to celebrate.
Happy CATTER-VERSARY!
Yeah, to celebrate the anniversary of and birthday of the musical Cats. We're going to open the room up to everybody now, and I can see we've got some people waiting. Let's see, we shall admit everybody.
I think we should.
Is everybody able to? Hello.
I see lots of people coming in.
Give us a wave if you can hear us. You need to some of you need to unmute yourselves.
Let's see. I can see Jeff Leyton. Hi, Jeff. You're muted.
How do I do volume down? If I put it down?
And I can see John Morrison.
I can see Jacqui.
Hello.
Oh, that's Jacqui. Lovely Jacqui Scott on John's.
Hi, John. How are you, John?
Hello, Jacqui.
Hello, Jacqui.
I'm just trying to. Is that volume? Yeah. I'm at a friend's house, and it won't work on my iPad. So I'm in her office now on a computer. Thank you. Hang on. I'm up. There we go. I've elevated. That's which camera am I looking at? That one?
Yeah.
That one?
Yes, here we are. Jeff, you need to unmute yourself. Jeff, you need to press your unmute button or she can't talk to us.
There we go. He got it.
Ah, there you go. Hello,
here.
Jeff.
I'm there.
Oh, good of you both to join us. I think we're still waiting for a couple of other people. I think, Barbara's here with us now.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
We're still technically a little ahead of a schedule, so see more people popping in.
That's
Hi,
true.
Barbara. Can you hear us, Barbara? You need to unmute yourself, darling.
I can now. Oh, hello. Hello, nice to see you guys.
And you.
Little reunion for you all.
How lovely.
Hello.
Let's see, we've still got a few people coming through now.
Looks like a few people are connecting to audio too.
This is only the second time I've done one of these, so I'm still a virgin.
This is only our second.
This is my second time I've done Zoom ever, so
You're doing well. I've done a hell of a lot of teaching online.
You have you? Okay.
Yeah, me too.
I hate it.
I kind of like it only because then when the lesson's over, you just push the button and it's like, oh, they're gone.
There is that. I would say, okay, it's going to take me an hour to get to this class next week, and traffic and everything. It's definitely got its advantages. And do you know what? I've loved the connection with people, and I think that's what's really made it.
Yeah, no, it makes a big difference. It is nice to be able to connect. Yeah, it's been a weird year for everybody, so
That's
makes
for
you
sure.
feel like you're not the only person in the world. I live in the boondocks, so there's more like cows than people, so it's always nice to see humans.
Have you seen my video when I've been singing the cows and they all come running up to the fence?
No, I have to check it out.
Oh man, they love it. They love music. If you sing to them, from Oklahoma, obviously.
Naturally, of course, because they love that show.
Oh, Jeff, you sound really sexy.
I sound what?
You sound really sexy.
Oh, thank you very much.
Just an observation.
I'm not bad for an old guy.
So where is everybody joining us from today? I mean, I know, Jeff, you're over in Germany, aren't you, currently at this moment in time?
And I'm in the south of Germany, 15 minutes from the ski slopes of Austria. So half an hour from Switzerland, 2 hours from Italy. I could go on and on and on. It's absolutely beautiful around here. It's
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Sounds fabulous.
Yeah.
And
Snow, Jeff?
Pardon?
Still have snow at the moment, or is it all the snow gone?
Yeah, it's been one of the best snow seasons, but unfortunately, because of lockdown, we can't use them. And I bought new boots and new jackets and all of that stuff. Excuse me. And we can't go anywhere. But they're starting to think about opening up again. So I'm looking forward to it, even if I just get 2 or 3 days.
I thought locals could ski in your local area.
You want to go where?
I thought if you were local, you could ski in your local area.
Oh yeah, we can go to a place like Dumas or the Left, and we're there in a matter of minutes. You know, it's not that far, and it's really beautiful. And some of the ski slopes, which aren't the big major ones, are actually far better than the ones that are sort of the ones that are sort of like advertising, or the Thompsons or Flybe or anything like that. I hope I'm not infringing any rules here by mentioning big names.
That's fantastic.
Unless we all get a free holiday out of it.
right, and we're just waiting for Paul Mcready to join us now. He's just having a trouble using the link, so I'm just going to quickly email him the link, as he can't seem to get on it from Facebook. So you just bear with me for a few seconds, and we'll get this sorted, and then we'll get on with a good old chinwag about cats then.
Hey.
Which, you know, we're all here for. So right, let's sort this out.
I would have worn my cat t-shirt, but it doesn't fit me anymore.
Oh.
That's all right. Got mine on.
Oh, have you? Let's see. Come on, we can't see it. Oh,
Yes.
Oh.
For sure.
I have indeed, all the way from London. It's pretty worn out at the moment, so it's had a lot of good use, but nice it stays as my pride and joy.
How are you doing, darling? You okay?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Yeah, good, thanks. I'm happy to see everybody on again. That's cool.
To see everyone, it's like, wow, it's mind-blowing, you know, considering, you know, cats has been around for so long, and, you know, I grew up with cats, you know, when I was a little kid, seeing the original cast right up to the last ever performance, and my kids have grown up with it, and you know, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it's 40 years is a long time. It's an absolutely amazing running show, and yeah. Anyway, I was watching Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber talking about how him and Cameron was standing in the wings, and talking about how they were so nervous how it was going to be received, and here we are 40 years later.
Yep. And it's still going strong with the touring company as well. So, you know, as they said, you know, now and forever.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't think it'll ever end, is it? Will it? It's become such a beloved show by people all around the world, of all different nationalities, and there's been, you know, various companies and all around the world now. You know, it's amazing. It really, you know, it has become a phenomenon. I think Paul's going to join us as soon as he's able to. So I think we'll make a start now. So we already have made a start, haven't we? So Jacqui, I'm not sure how long we've got with you. So what I'm going to do is going to work around you all, and if you say who you are and the character that you play, and just as a starting question, how did you hear about the show? Had you seen the show, and what was your audition process like? I would just open that up to you, Jacqui, first.
Well, it was interesting because I started in the West End in the musical Chess in 1985 in the original company in the pop choir, and then I went on to do a Vita, and then I was auditioned for Cats 3 times for Grizzabella, and the first 2 times I didn't get it. Andrew told me that I made the touch me sound too easy, and could I make it more painful? And I went, well, no, because it is easy. And because it was a really easy thing for me. And then the third time he invited me back, I said, no, thanks, I'm not interested.
Oh, right.
But he didn't have me the first 2 times, I'm not bloody coming the third. And my manager said, well, just go for it. And because I actually went in with a totally different attitude of, I don't care if I get this or not, I got it, which often happens. If you want something too badly, you get very nervous sometimes, and when you go in with a different mindset,
Yeah.
and I really didn't care, I was already doing something else, and I got it, and so that's how it happened for me. And then literally 2 months into rehearsal, I found out I was pregnant. And
oh wow! I was going to say, did you have to do any dancing at your audition, or?
Bob will probably remember this. And as a Grizzabella, you always did the opening routine, which for a non-dancer, I was a reasonable mover, but I was a trained dancer, and I'm now 3-4 months pregnant. Was getting a little difficult, but I didn't want to tell anybody at that point. I was trying to sort of keep it quiet, and then eventually it got to the point where even the Lycra all-in-one costume was screaming at the seams. Impending child. I had to go to Chrissy Cartwright, who was then in-house sort of director, choreographer, and I said, look, I am 4 months pregnant. And she said, oh no, she said, you can't leave. And I said, no, I have no intention of leaving, but I do need you to help me. I can't keep doing this opening routine. I need to be able to maybe dance less. So they allowed me not to do anything apart from my Grizzabella bits.
Yeah.
And I stayed until I think I was 7.5 months pregnant.
Oh, wow.
The Lycra really was on its final stretch. And the rabbit coat, the press studs were getting moved to hide the impending bump. And then one night, Lloyd Webber came in to see the show, and I was doing the heavy side lair, as you all know, very steep steps. And I was so big now, I thought I was carrying a litter. And
brilliant.
Anymore. And because it was so steep and there was no handrail in those days, I was climbing each step and under touching the next step to make sure I was okay. And Andrew watched this, and all he could see was litigation. If I was to fall, and perhaps who was the company manager at that time?
Oh, now there's a question.
Stephen.
It wasn't Steve Diamond?
No,
Yeah.
No.
Oh, Roger Penhale.
Peter Roper?
No, oh, it was Peter Roper. Anyway, basically, Lloyd Webber went to him and said, you need to get Jacqui's husband in and tell him to take her home and not to come back until she's delivered. So I left the company. I think it was 6 weeks or so, 8-7 weeks. I had Rosie, and they had promised me 6 months maternity leave. And about 4 weeks into her being born, Macintosh rang and said, we need you back. And I said, but she's 4 weeks old. And they went, yeah, but we need you back. And I went, okay. So my husband was in the show Joseph at the time as the bass player in the band, and he said, we can do this, we can do this. And they arranged for me, lovely Roger was my dresser, he would sit with Rosie in a crib in the dressing room while I went on to sing all my memory bits. And we did that for about a month, but it just didn't work out. It was just too difficult. So we employed a nanny back home, and I was, this is not too graphic, gentlemen, I was expressing milk in the dressing room.
Okay.
So I could freeze it to put it in a bottle to take home for her every night. So there were all these bottles of milk in my fridge. And one night I came in to find that half of it had been depleted. And I went, what's going on? And all the gorgeous gay boys in the cast have come in and said, well, we had to try it. We just had to. And they put it in their tea.
Oh, how funny.
It took me 40 minutes to express like 4 ounces, and you all just now finish my milk. So it was very funny. It was very funny times. And so I stayed for another 18 months with her at home at this point. So my daughter's first ever sight of me properly was with a wig and whiskers, and she's never quite got over it. That was a very long way of telling you how I got the role.
No.
And that's the story. That was it.
Oh, it must have because we had Rhea Jones with us last week, and she said she just didn't have a clue. She'd not seen the show. She knew there was dancing involved, but she just thought, oh, Grizzabella doesn't do a lot. You know, she just has the number. And she said she got to the first day of rehearsals and had the shock of her life. You know, she said, obviously I can dance, but she said I didn't think I was doing anything. So, you know, all of a sudden the lovely Gillian Lynn called her. Oh yes, Rhea, we're slotting you into here. Oh no, I'm not dancing. Oh, you are. You're in this first number. And she'd offer when, you know, I was like on the phone to my agent in the break kind of thing. So yeah, so I think everybody's experiences of the audition process has been slightly different, hasn't it? So
the dancing was great for me because I was trained classically to classical music school. I didn't even go to drama school, so I was a fully trained classical pianist and a singer. But I had a musical theatre voice. So when I went into the show, I hadn't seen the show either, and I knew it was a dance show, and I didn't expect to be doing that opening number, which was really, really quite hard for a non-dancer. But it was great because it took me out of my comfort zone, it kept me fit.
Challenged you, obviously, yeah.
It was wonderful. And probably actually being pregnant, because I did carry on for about 2 or 3 weeks while I was pregnant, and it was probably good for the muscles and for support and all of that, but I just got too heavy. That was the problem. I literally had this bump where it was too heavy. I mean, once I got down on my knees, I couldn't get up again. That was the problem. This fat cat was sort of on the knees, going, I don't get.
Grizzabella the pregnant cat.
So
it was like a whole different spin.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was a wonderful experience. And the night I gave birth, we rang the stage door from the hospital room to announce that I had given birth, and they put it over the monitor system and all I could hear was everybody going.
Oh.
Wonderful cast. Barbara was there, and Gordon and Helen Way, and then Becky Thornhill at the time, and lovely Daddy Donald Frankie, and oh my God, we had such a great cast. This was 1991 to 93.
Yeah.
For a little while from 95. It was just the most wonderful cast.
You were my first West End Grizzabella, so it was you were pop my pussy cherry, so to speak. In the West End.
Oh my
gosh. John, you had an interesting question for Jacqui, didn't you, regarding the Grizzabella?
I did, yeah. So you know, I was sitting around chatting with people about cats, as you do, and a friend of mine said something about, oh, I'm sorry, my dogs are going to bark now. A friend of mine said something like, well, you know, it's so sad because she dies, and I thought to myself, well, I don't think she dies. I think she goes to the Heaviside Layer and fabulous things happen to her and she's rejuvenated or reborn into a new body and she comes back. But I was just curious what you as an actor, like what you imagined happened after you walked up those stairs. What happened in your arc?
No, I suppose it was all part of the story, isn't it? The next 9 lives thing. I don't know. You go to heaven and maybe some cat heaven. In honesty, it's not a thing I've ever really thought about. I rather liked the fact that she was going up on this tire into, you know, mist and smoke and hiding in that tire. No, I used to go down the back stairs, actually. I can't remember how I got out that tire. Oh, I don't remember. How'd you get out the tire?
Well, in London?
Yeah, in the Heaviside Layer. Did you climb down the back ladder? I can't remember what we did.
I think we walked along
a trackway.
Yeah, I think we walked along and down. I can't remember the route off. I remember because you did the tour as well. You joined us on the tour, didn't you, in Nottingham while we're on the subject? Because I think that's where you opened, didn't you?
Birmingham, I did.
Birmingham. Oh, that's right. And I think we were going to Nottingham. I'm sure it was you, and you had the previews off. You didn't perform the previews. I was your cover.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it was going to be the first time I was going on for you. I'd only done one show for Helen Hobson back in Plymouth. And I was in rehearsals for the tire, which was the tire and the stairs that came down from the side, walked up the stairs in my stillies, walked down the stairs then to get off, and I wrecked my ankle.
Oh, no.
and I was off. I couldn't even limp on to play Grizzabella. Gone. So I was off in London in rehab, and I used to come up to Nottingham and do Grizz, but not do the opening, obviously, because I couldn't dance either. I think when you were off, so it kind of worked out quite well.
I think I did Birmingham only for about 10 weeks, and then Josie Walker came in. So I might have actually missed you, because I then went on to do the Magic of the Musicals tour with Mark Rattray around the country. So I only sort of stepped in to do the Grizz. I went from Grizz London to Saigon, Ellen, back to Grizz in Birmingham. But I remember not doing the rehearsals because I couldn't, because I think I was probably in Saigon still. And I remember coming in slightly later and literally joining like 2 days before the opening night, because Howard Harrison said, "Can you remember the show?" I said, "Yeah, probably." I think I'll get it. I was totally nowhere. I couldn't remember the steps at all, but I could remember the moves for Grizz. So that was the chronological order. But yeah, so back at John, the heavy side there, I think it was just an ethereal moment. Apart from the night the tyre went up halfway, and I couldn't leave the tyre.
Oh God!
So Donald Frank, who's playing Daddy, just went, lie down. And I remember dropping into the hole. The smoke disappeared.
She's just lying
there for the whole of his final song he does, filled in the tyre going, okay. Because I couldn't get out, because it hadn't gone high enough for me to go on the back stairway. So I was just hiding in the stairwell. God, I've just come back to that story, actually.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. That is fantastic.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the lovely Paul Mcready with us. Hello, Paul.
Hello.
Hi, Paul.
Good to have you with us today.
Good. Nice to be here.
Oh gosh.
Nice to see Jacqui again. I was in Birmingham with Jacqui and with Barbara.
Oh, hi, darling. How are you?
Hello. I remember and Jacqui, you had very little rehearsal. I remember that, absolutely. And I remember us chatting about chess in the wings one night before you went on. You telling me lots of anecdotes about that. And we did, and of course, the Birmingham company also did the Pebble Mill lunchtime show, where Jacqui was able to put down her rendition of Memory for Forever on TV. So I hope you've got a copy of that, Jacqui, somewhere.
No, I haven't.
I've got a copy.
Yes, please.
All right, then. I'll get you my copy.
I haven't got those.
I've never seen that. I've seen us do the Jellicle Ball, but I never saw...
There were 4 numbers. Jacqui did Memory. We did a bit of the opening, which included the ball, and then we did Mungo and Rumple, and then there was one. I think we did Tugger as well.
I was going to say, I think you did Tugger, didn't you? Yeah.
We did 4 excerpts, and we were on with Raquel Welch and Maureen Littman.
I've forgotten that as well.
Oh, you remember a lot. That's incredible.
Well, it's quite a big deal for me at the time, because obviously I'd come into the show on my own in Plymouth. And I stayed for Birmingham, Nottingham, Manchester, where we closed. And it was quite a scary time for me, because obviously I came in as a lone member of the company. I rehearsed all alone. And then I joined the guys in Plymouth. It was absolutely terrifying. But, there you go.
Oh, Paul, great. That somehow onto Messenger as a clipboard. So I'd love to have that. I would love to.
Sure, no problem.
WeTransfer is the best place to put that forward on.
I have many copies.
Yeah, well, I would like one as well. You can send me one.
Okay.
What's the best place to do that? Jeff, what's the best place to send that?
WeTransfer.
Oh God, that sounds really, really technical.
No, WeTransfer it's just a program on the internet. You just type it in, and then you just put the people's email address on it, and then yours underneath, attach the video, and drop it in the box. And that's it. And then you get the full thing. If you put it through Messenger, you see, through lockdown, I've become an expert at this, because I've been working with a few people online, some in Australia, some in Ireland, some in Wales. And you've got to learn all this new technology while this was going on. And transfers the whole thing instead of just part of it.
You know what I like best though is an envelope with a stamp on it and a little CD
I tell you what,
Nobody
Jacqui,
has a VHS anymore.
my copies are still on VHS. That's how behind I am, okay? So if you want it on VHS or DVD, no problem.
All of my early TV shows, I found a lady on Facebook, not even a friend of mine, she just saw me reach out. She has just transferred 25 things from me, from my VHSs, which I sent to her in Cornwall, and she has put everything onto a disc for me. So I've now got everything onto little DVDs. Which
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's
Oh,
fantastic.
fantastic.
That's my format, I'm afraid.
Yes, me too. Me too.
Just going quickly back to Jeff again, could you tell us your experience, Jeff, of auditioning for the show and what your connection was to the show? Had you seen the show previously before auditioning, or were you?
Well, I went for an audition. I was invited down to see the show, and I had the audition first. But they never taught me anything about dancing or anything like that. And I, went to see the show, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, this guy's dancing. This guy's dancing. They have to know I'm not dancing, because like you, Jacqui, I'd never done any dancing before. Hang on, I don't know what's going on here with this. Okay, it's been upgraded. I sang half the song, and I said, okay, can't remember the rest of the words, and I got the role.
Yeah. What song did you have to sing, Jeff?
I sang old Deuteronomy's song, Addressing of Cats.
Ah, right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and but it was all done within about 2 days. And luckily enough, I wasn't in Les Mis at the time, and so they asked me to come down. Cameron didn't have any idea about it, and I was actually 16 stone at the time when I went into Cats, and it looked like I was pregnant in the lycra as well, Jacqui. And I'm wearing this lycra, and me being me, I'm thinking, I don't want to wear this stuff, and I got on and I wore this, and it took me a while to get the steps, but Gillian was absolutely fabulous. Gillian and I used to go to Andreas in London, which was he did shiatsu, and we used to have a most wonderful conversation. But anyway, I got into the Cats and wore this big costume, and within a few months, I was down just under on 10 stone. And I was the fittest I had ever been in my life. But I mean, that was in London in 1996. And it was the 15th anniversary. We had Princess Margaret Rose come in. And it was lovely. John Kerr came, Trevor Nunn came in, Gillian came in. And we were all there doing this thing in front of all these people. And then Cameron found out I was Cats. He says, "What? Jeff Leyton's in Cats?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, But yeah, I loved it. It was very difficult at the beginning for me because it was dancing was something I had never done. But I got there in the end. Chrissy Cartwright turned around to me and said, "You're doing not bad for a non-dancer." And I thought, okay.
That's a compliment, a big compliment.
Yeah, coming from Chrissy, it was, Yeah. Yeah, so I spent 6 months, and then Cameron got me back into Les Mis, and and that was that. My 6 month stint in Cats in the New London Theatre, as it was called.
So thank you, Jeff. Going over to you, Barbara, because you have probably the longest association with the show out of everybody. Could you same question to you? What was your initial connection to the show, and had you seen it beforehand, and how did your audition come about?
Wow. Yeah. How long have you got?
I know the story, but everybody else doesn't, because I know that you knew you knew Gillian Lynn from being a young girl, didn't you? Because your mum
I've known
danced.
Gillian since I was a little girl, because my mother was a dancer and she worked with Gillian Lynn, and she worked with Chrissy Cartwright. I remember my mum doing a TV show with Chrissy Cartwright at the New London Theatre. London Night Out, I think it was called, for ITN. Well, Jackie's nodding her head. I remember that. Anyway, so I grew up in the business because my mum was a dancer and stuff. But anyway, and I was at art school when Cats opened in 1981, and my mum at the time was dating Bernard Delfont's chairman, Richard Mills, for quite a while in my childhood, and so I went to see everything, and he got us tickets for the second preview of Cats, centre front balcony. They hadn't even done a finale. Elaine Page had just been thrown in, and I watched it in wonderment, and I wanted to be Bonnie Langford. I wanted to be in this show. So I was at college still, and so life kind of went on. So, and then I left college in '84 and did like 42nd Street for a few years and stuff like that. So my time came around to audition for Cats in around 88, 89. Going back a little bit, I saw the show more than once early on. My mum was also friends with Sheila O'Neill, who at the time was one of the resident directors that Chrissy Cartwright did, that Josie Ashcroft did. And Sheila O'Neill got me in, and I used to sit on the steps when it was allowed and watch the show and be in the VIP room in the interval and chat to the cast. And this was around original cast time as well. So magical moments for me. And eventually, the very first time I auditioned for it, I didn't get it. And I think they were considering me for Jemima. And I did Judders. You know, the first thing we always had to do from the dancer auditions was a double pirouette. We had to go into the middle of that stage and do a double pirouette. If you could hold a double pirouette, you had a chance. I love dancing. I didn't get it at that point, and then I went back again, so it must have been early 1989, because that's when I did it. And I sang the Rumpleteaser stuff, did the Rumpleteaser dance. Everything went really well, felt really good, and it went on forever, and I heard nothing. And I remember they put an ad in the stage that they needed a Demeter for the UK tour, because this was for the first original UK tour in '89 that I was auditioning for. And they needed a Demeter. And I called up my agent. I said, "Oh, can you just ask them if there was any point in me going along for this? Because I've been seeing them, but I've not heard anything." And my agent contacted Cameron's office, and they got back to me, and they said that, was it Paul, what's his name, Howard Harrison at the time? Was meant to have called me and offered me Rumpleteaser, but the memo, that piece of paper, was slid under a whole load of other bits of paper and stuff like that. So it was actually a good idea that I just kind of nudged them a little bit, and that's how I got the job.
Amazing. Wow. Absolutely amazing.
So that was 1989. I did the very first first time a big show went on a UK tour. We did 6 months Blackpool, 4 months Edinburgh, 3 months Dublin. It was immense, and it was the most amazing.
That was the first time I saw you in Blackpool, little knowing that years later we'd end up becoming friends. But it was a really, really, it was a magical tour. That it was a really fabulous production. It was the first time the show had toured over here as well, hadn't it? So, and to see it there in the Opera House as well at Blackpool, that must have been thrilling to play that space for you all, Barbara, because it's huge, isn't it? It's absolute barn. So it must have. I'm pretty certain then as well. You were all very well received on that tour as well, weren't you?
Yeah. It was an unforgettable time. And it was the only time in Blackpool, and it's massive, that Opera House, and we had the rubbish from the stage literally go all the way up to the boxes.
Yeah,
we could run up to the dress circle from the stage, and every tour that kind of happened since then, the set got less and less and less and less. But that first year was magical. It was absolutely.
They really did go to town with this, and it was quite some distance as well from the stage to that dress circle, wasn't it? So the set was really. It was absolutely huge, for the space that you were in as well. It was it was certainly breathtaking and a memorable experience from an audience perspective as well. So, yeah, totally thrilling. So, we'll quickly go over to Paul and ask Paul the same question, though you kind of sort of spoken about it briefly. So, just tell us quickly, you know, what was your experience, and had you seen the show prior to auditioning for it, Paul?
I certainly had seen the show, because the show really came out. I don't want to reveal any age here, but the show came out really when I was a kid, really. And I had no way of imagining what the show looked like. I had the LP, if you can imagine. I had the LP of the show, and I used to listen to it and try to imagine what this looked like, because there was very, very little footage that went out. You got the poster, you know, that was part of the magic of it for me, is the fact you couldn't work out how they did this show. And then every now and again, there would be the odd clip on TV of the original company. Not very much, though, I have to say. So I was that kid that listened to the LP, was completely obsessed by the show, saved stuff in a scrapbook, you know, completely obsessed about going to see it, and couldn't go to see it maybe for the first 2 or 3 years, I should say. I finally saw it and said, that's what I want to do. That encapsulates what I want to do when I go into the business. So I'd left London Studio Centre, where I trained, and I kept auditioning all the time throughout my training for the show, and never ever got it. And then I think I've been out of school about 2 years or so, and was auditioning at the New London. And then I was recalled some weeks later, and it was just me and one other guy auditioning at Sadler's Wells, the old Sadler's Wells, I should say. And then literally within about a week or something, I was going to replace Carl Morgan in the national tour, and hence me starting on my journey of rehearsing, me and Kay Brown rehearsing in every dance studio around London that we could find. And it was just me and her rehearsing the show. And it was daunting, terrifying, you know, and then off to Plymouth and try to be fitted into the show, and had my own dress rehearsal. I mean, can you imagine a way to introduce yourself to a company, making them all come in and having to do a full dress rehearsal?
I bet you were popular that day.
I mean, you know, not that everybody wasn't exhausted already, because of course they were, and little old me comes in, and it was just absolutely thrilling. And I've got to say, it's certainly one of the hardest things I've ever done. I think anybody that's done it would absolutely testify it is physically exhausting, even when you're in your early 20s. I remember having to put my feet in buckets of ice and all sorts of stuff, but I lived and breathed the show while I was doing it, because it was fulfilling a childhood dream, to be quite honest with you. And, you know, it just meant so much to me. And I think Cats is one of those shows that it's a magical experience, you know. And I always feel sorry for people who I hear going into it who are complaining about how hard it is, or they're not that involved in it or connected to it, because I think you almost have to be to get through it.
Yeah.
And it was just fantastic. And the company were very welcoming to me, because I was this scared little kid that came in. And then the company changed. As we've said with Jacqui, we used to get a new Grizz and a new Tugger, sort of almost every venue, actually. And the venues played indeed, as Jacqui said, for 10 or 12 weeks, because it was obviously a big tour. And Barbara, of course, I saw in the 1989 Blackpool run. Of course I did, because what did I say to my parents, you know, when I was about to go and train? We've got to go and see it in Blackpool. And it's just a fantastic experience to be part of. And it's not for the faint-hearted, and it's not for those that don't want to work very hard. I can't talk about Grizz because I haven't played that part, but I can certainly say that if you are one of the kittens, and I was Carbuckety and I covered Mungojerry, you will work very, very hard, and it's just thrilling to do it. It's an absolute honour to do it. And it meant a great, great deal to me. So I left that tour, you know, when we finished in Manchester, 1995, I left that tour really satisfied that I'd managed to achieve one of my ambitions. And I don't know. I suppose since I've done it, I do go back and see productions of it. But it's very, very hard, of course, not to watch the experience that you had with the people you had it with. Because once again, we had some great, great people, some fantastic people. And I suppose, the cherry on the cake maybe is the fact we got to record our little bits for Pebble Mill. So we've always got the fact that we're captured on screen doing it. And it's just always a massive place in my heart. Always, always, always. I saw it on Broadway recently where they tinkered about with it, but it was still thrilling.
Yeah.
I've got to say.
Yeah, it was quite. It was an odd hybrid of Gilly's work and Andy's sort of fused together, wasn't it? But it was still. If you'd not seen it, I mean, I know personally for me, I sort of watched little bits of it online, and there were just the moments where Andy's sort of work took over from Gilly's. I sang it in my head. I was kind of going, oh. No, this is this bit coming up now, and then you're going from that step. Did you have that experience of like sort of you sort of dancing it in your head as you were watching it, but then there was a new bit, and it was like, oh, they've changed that bit, kind of thing. Was that kind of a bit startling for you?
Or they did this wonderful bit where everything went black, and when the lights came up, people were mid-jump in the air, which was thrilling to see. But it was great to see it being redone. But I have to say, I think Gillian's work was and is completely groundbreaking.
Oh, outstanding work.
I think the show itself, particularly in the very early days, very early days. And, since then, I've sort of become friends with some of the original company as well. So, I mean, I don't know if it got very, very big and very colourful and very Disney. I think its original intentions were quite dark. And I kind of always cursed the fact I never saw the original company, which obviously Barbara said she just did. So I'm very envious of that. But I mean, I think everybody in it has to work incredibly hard, and the original cast were no exception. They opened to the point of being exhausted, actually. And then, of course, that you've got the run to do onward. I mean,
it came together ridiculously quickly, didn't it? From literally from nothing to being workshopped and staged at the same time in about 6 weeks, wasn't it? Something like that.
Well, I don't think there was a workshop. I think Gillian had worked out a lot of what she wanted to do. And I think they literally had their probably 5 weeks in Chiswick. And then, of course, all sorts of things happened along the way.
Yeah.
And I know if ever you get the chance to hear Bonnie Langford talk on the subject, she can talk on it and tell you so much more than probably any of them. Because indeed she was there, and indeed the theatre were going to throw them out, and Lloyd Webber was going to withdraw his score, and all sorts of dramas were going on, floors needing to be replaced, and costumes being thrown downstairs that were designed for the ball that nobody could wear. It must have just been an incredible experience to be part of. But anyway, I was a part of it in a very small way, so I was thrilled, absolutely thrilled to have done that.
Oh, thank you, Paul, for that. That's absolutely amazing to hear your experiences and your memories from your side of things. I was just going to say to anybody else in the group who isn't a cast member, if you have a question for any particular cast member, or just a question in general about the show, if you want to use the chat box and ask your question there, then we'll put it to the cast members if you have something to ask them. Continuing, just this is to all of you. Of course, you mentioned the late great Gillian Lynn there, Paul. I just would wondering if any of you had any stories of Gilly at all, because I've heard from on other various interviews that she could be quite colourful in her descriptions of the choreography, shall we say, in what she wanted to get from people. I'm just wondering whether any of you have any stories of working with Gillian.
We were on a rehearsal in the New London Theatre, and Gillian was watching the cast, and one of the cats had brought up her leg from the side, and Gillian just said to her, if you can't bring your leg up properly like this, and this was in 1996, and she's got her leg like this right over the air. You should not be working in the West End, she said.
And that would have made her 70 when she did that, right? She was born in 26. So that was in 96. Yeah, she was 70 when she...
Incredible.
And she was incredible lady, incredibly fit, and she seemed to, I seem to remember her saying she did a exercises every single day so that she was able to continue teaching the show.
Well, that's when we went to Andreas in London. When we went there, it was all about fitness. I went there because I was a bit overweight at the time and a bit stiff, and they wanted me a bit more limbered up to dance, which I eventually got it. But I have to say, I agree with Paul. It's you either fully commit to a show like that, or you'll stick out, And if you stick out too long, you're out. But it's an amazing piece. It's one of the greats of musical history.
You guys who've been in the show, I'm sure you'll agree, have you all had knee problems since? Oh my God.
Yeah, my left knee is knackered.
It was all about being on your hands and knees all the time. I had back pain afterwards. I had knee problems. We wore knee pads, if you remember, because we were on our knees so much. But it's the one thing I've spoken to past cast members. Everybody has had knee problems, over the years because of it. Because it's really physical when you're crawling around.
Yeah.
Floors. I mean, naturally, go back to Homo sapien days. We're not meant to be upright anyway. We're supposed to be on our knees. But because in evolution and everything, we're now upright. Getting back down again is gone against what we're physically really able to do. And I do find that when I hike a lot, when I'm going up or down hills, particularly down, oh my God, the knees are just a killer. I wonder, anyone else got that problem? Did you get that?
Well, I had to crawl with my costume on, with the old Duke costume, which was, as you know, massive. And knee pads, belly pads, back pads, the whole thing mixed. And then Mr. Mistoffelees magically makes us appear, as you know. And we were in the New London Theatre in the summer of '96 when the air conditioning broke down, and it was 104.
Wow.
Yeah. They were thinking about stopping the show because the heat was so incredible, but we carried on. But that's what we do. We keep going. We keep going because we love it so much. Yeah.
In that costume, in the interval, on those hot summer days, I used to pity Donald Frankie who was doing it.
Oh, thank you very much. You're very good. The Japanese that would come up to the tie. Oh, please sign this program. I would sit there while everybody else was having water, and I'd be sitting there sweating buckets on the bloody tire. It was like, oh man.
Barbara, you must have had knee problems.
Oh. Yeah, I've got everything problems. I've got lower back. I got a lot of neck problems when I was Demeter, because she was always kind of like this. Yeah. And Mcready used to drag her across the stage after the Mcready number. And once when I got pulled, literally everything came out, and I was off the show for 7 weeks. I had a protruding disc in my neck, so that was miserable. Ouch. Yeah, I mean, but now my knees crunch a lot. I've been told the patella has worn at the back of the knees. Ow. Generally, they don't cause me problems, but every now and again they do. And I think that is why. But like you said, Jacqui, going down sometimes is really, really uncomfortable. Really? I think we're lucky if we escape that show with no scars and injuries and stuff, but I would do it all over again and have the same scars.
I would.
I really would. I wouldn't swap it for anything.
That's wonderful.
I'm lucky that my girlfriend's an osteopath, so I get free treatment every day.
You did well there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just going back to talking about Gillian Lynne for a second, I've got a question here from Chris, and he says, as we're talking about Gillian Lynne, do you think she was the most important person in creating the show? Are there any background stories she had from your respective roles that you value as most important? So the first part of the question is: do we think that she probably was the most integral person to the show in creating what was staged? Do you think?
I think so.
I do.
Yeah.
Without Gillian's choreography, it's not, to me, it's not Cats. I haven't even looked at that film that came out last year.
I loved it.
I will watch it, but I just haven't I didn't rush at the time because it was COVID and everything, wasn't it? I think. But I don't know. I think it's what I first fell in love with Cats. It was the dancing. It really was the Jellicle Ball, and it was the opening, and it was all that wonderful work. And I don't like change anyway. I don't deal with change very well. When I like an original choreography, but I can accept change if I enjoy it. And I didn't see the new Broadway production, and I saw clips, but I just didn't like the fact that they had changed it and didn't involve her. They got Chrissy Cartwright on board, but they didn't get Gillian Lynn on board, and she was alive at the time. But I don't know all the facts, but I know that she wasn't included. But I can't recall any deep stories of characters from Gillian. I just want to say one thing about Gillian while we're on the subject, though. When I was in a show sometime in the 90s, we were doing a TV thing called How to Build a Human, and they were doing a feature on Gillian, and myself and Helen Baker did a little excerpt of Mcready, and they got Gillian to do the Grizzabella dance. So she got up, she did that on stage, and she went through all the motions of things, and then she came back and sat next to me in the auditorium because we were just all watching film, and she said to me, "Was that all right?"
So it's her choreography that she's done, and she's just performed it perfectly, and she's asking you if it was okay. That's fantastic.
Honestly,
you gotta love that.
I can't even remember what I said, but I'll never forget that moment. She was doing her own work. Yeah, bless her, love her.
So I think what Chris's second part of the question, I think, is regarding your actual characters that you played. He says, is there anything specific that she, kind of note or characteristic that she wanted to impart to you for your characters that you valued as most important as a key thing to your character that you were playing?
Well, I think all the characters are based on three descriptions which came from the improvisations with Trevor Nunn in the early days. So in the Cat's Bible, there are three words that describe your character, and you go off with them however which way you want to. But that was what was done with the original company. So I know when I started to take on the rehearsals, I know that I had that information. I can't remember what the three words are now.
I was about to say, don't ask us. I was about to say, don't ask us what our three words are.
I was going to
I do know that I can't speak because I didn't work with her on Cats. I worked with her on something else. But I all I know is that particularly, I think my picture's gone. There you go. Particularly, it's the three words that helped form the characters. And the original company had to go off to a library in their lunch breaks in Chiswick and do all that research, and then finally come back to the three words. So that's all I know on that subject.
Okay. So my next question to you regarding that was were you given kind of like a sort of backstory Bible as you were going into the show as to what your relationships to other characters were in the show, and what had been, what had sort of gone on within sort of the backstory of before, prior to the audience seeing the show? Were you given that information as you were rehearsing the show, or was that related to you from somebody else, or were you actually given sort of an actual sort of backstory script kind of thing?
The only thing I was asked to do was I had to go and study a cat. I'm so allergic to cats. I look at them, my eyes come out like organ stops. I remember going home for the first rehearsal, sod that. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to do that. I physically can't be near cats. And this is ironic that I'm playing this cat for the next couple of years, and I can't even look at a cat. And I went in the next week and said, how was looking at the cat thing? I went, great. As I was sort of looking at books and pictures of cats and seeing how they did. So the only thing I was told that we had to really look at a cat and watch its movements. And I could never do that. I literally couldn't do that. So I lied my way through rehearsal.
Well, see, this problem was solved in the 21st century because now we can watch cat videos, but you know. 1952,
and there was no YouTube, there was no bloody internet. So
right.
I went along. Guys, I'm so sorry. I've got to leave you. I'm so sorry. I'm at a friend's house for dinner.
Oh, Jacqui, thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate you.
It's lovely to see some old faces again, Paul, Babs, wonderful, Jeff, great to see you. And John and Claire, everybody, thank you for
coming. And you, Jacqui.
I hope you don't mind me disappearing. It's very rude of me, but...
Enjoy your dinner.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah,
I'll get that video to you, Jacqui.
Thank you, sweet. That is so kind of you.
No problem.
How do I leave this now? Sorry, what do I press?
If you...
Button. Hang on.
On the right-hand side, it says leave.
Leave.
I told you I was computer phobic.
And I can't see, I'm blind. I'm blind as a cat.
Guys, great to see you. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us, Jacqui. Really appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you, darling.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.
Going back to that question, just to say, when I very first did Cats in 1989 for the first UK tour, we had 7 weeks. 7 weeks rehearsal.
Right.
7 weeks in the studio, and we did a serious amount of improvisation. I mean, we had Trevor Nunn, we had Gillian, and we improvised for hours. I can't tell you, crawling around on our hands and knees, and we'd improvise our relationships as well, and we had to create scenes. Another thing we had to do was we had to create cartoon characters.
Oh, right.
I absolutely hate it. We had to all get up. Everyone sat in a circle, and you get up and you do it. And I think that was to make us be very animated, I suppose.
Yeah.
And we also had to do a technique of sitting in twos and telling each other a story. And this was to do with the naming of cats. So we had the focus of focusing on somebody, delivering dialogue, but being able to actually listen to what is coming back at you at the same time. That's just like a few little games. We used to play lots of games and do lots of improvisation forever. And we used to do like interviews as well. A character would sit on a podium, and then other characters would ask questions and stuff like that. So we did a lot of in-depth character investigation at that time before the show.
Will you actually be given sort of a kind of background Bible as well as doing the exercises, or were you literally presented with the score and there you go, you've got your lib, and then you worked your way through the show gradually? What was the process there?
I think we got the score, and we started with vocals, and like Paul was saying, we got our 3 words. And basically, that 3 words told you about everything. What I remember, Rumpleteaser being effervescent. That was one of them.
Right.
And so that those 3 words were brilliant because it did help. It did completely describe your character.
Yeah. Was that kind of like the hook that sort of took you back there if ever you needed to sort of focus in on anything? You had those 3 words to sort of hold on to.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Very useful.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I think also, John, I should also say, I think just briefly for that question, is the fact that there's lots of, Barbara covered it really, there's lots of interrelationships going on that might not be apparent to the audience particularly, but when you're in it, to understand the relationship between certain characters, in terms of age, even to do with Demeter Mcready, etc. You know, there's more there than sometimes an audience thinks there is.
Yeah.
But it's great to have that, because if you don't, that's where I think Gillian and Trevor were so clever, because it's not just choreography and notes.
Yeah,
there's far more there than you actually realize.
I absolutely agree, Paul. I that was one of the first things from the first time I saw it. I think you know, it was one of those things that it either intrigued. Well, I either did one or the other, or did both. It intrigued you and bewildered you and made you want to see it again. Because I was like, I don't know, I'm not exactly sure what I've just seen, but I want to see it again. I know there's something more there. And over the years, you know, you kind of pick up on certain things, and then you know, I'd go run away and look at the poems and go, well, on that particular line, she does that, and looks at her, and you kind of think, this is, you know, and for an example, going back to the Mcready thing, you know, how true it is, I don't know. In my head, I just kind of thought, well, they both kind of had some kind of relationship with Mcready, and at a certain point in the song, I kind of thought, oh, that's when the Demeter realizes that her best friend is actually having an affair, or had an affair, or something's going on with her, and the fact that there's just, you know, that look where I know he cheats at cards, and then she kind of, you know, like kind of look, and I just thought, there's something there. That is the something, you know, and there's, like you said, all those little moments that you wouldn't necessarily pick up on first viewing, but you know, it was that thing. that intrigue, you know, whether it was intentionally done that to draw people back into the show and make them want to see it again. I think it was, you know, whatever the reason for it being there, whether it was to build upon, you know, like you say, the relationships between the characters within the show, it was genius, absolute genius. You know,
yes, it's not a show that you can just. I don't think if you're in it, you can't just go and dance it.
No, you have to.
I've always thought you have to be able to act all of it, and that's how I approached it. You know, fundamentally, that's what I do now. I act, but I always saw it going in as I couldn't have the experience somebody like Barbara's had, where you do a company improvisation, because I was on my own.
Yeah,
it was me and the person teaching me the show, who was Kay. But so I missed out on that, but nevertheless, it's all there. And suddenly, even as the biggest fan of the show who suddenly went into it, I then suddenly learned, oh right, that's what Peaks and Pollicles is doing in there. Oh, I get it now. Oh, okay. So, you know, it's one of those. That's why I think its repeat audience was responsible for its success, because they kept going back, because you couldn't possibly see everything in one sitting.
Yeah.
You could sit in different parts of the theatre. You could, you know, but there was so much there. And that's, for me, that's what kept me coming back as a punter. Yeah. And then what I think made it intriguing for the audience.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. What I was going to say, I mean, the thing that always sort of annoys me is, you know, when people sort of brush it away and say, oh, it's not got a story, there's nothing there, you know, and quite dismissive of it. And it's it's just a load of cats, you know, singing about themselves and what have you. And it always winds me up so much. And
I was literally just going to say that.
You know, and I think, you know, its strength is its simplicity, and, you know, I think it's a perfect personification of the poetry. And I think no offense to the, you know, to T.S. Eliot's lyrics or to Andrew's music. I think if you took away the music and the lyrics and you saw the show, or if you took away, certainly if you took the singing away and you just saw the show as a straight ballet with the music, you would still know what was going on. Because the genius of Gillian's choreography was that it was so precise and so intricate that, you know, you would know exactly what was occurring, and you would still get the information that you would need to follow what was going on. And I think you know, obviously with the music and the lyrics, it was just seemed to be a marriage made in heaven kind of thing, and all these elements coming together presented you know, a piece that is unique. There is no other show like it. You can, you know, the one show that you could probably compare it to, or sort of maybe, is A Chorus Line. which, you know, chorus line people tend to hate the comparison. You know, but it is a sort of similar format where you've got people coming forward, you know, who are trying to compete against each other to be chosen. You know, it does have that, and I think it's quite sort of uncanny that, you know, two of the biggest shows of the 20th century have those elements in common, you know. But anyway, going back to Cats, Chris has sent us another question. He said, to those who did both the tour and the London production, was the experience different for you when doing it on the round stage at the New London Theatre, where it all started, compared to being on tour in a Prosarch theatre? How did that differ for those of you who did both?
I did both. And I first did it on tour. So even though I first saw it in London, I first did it on tour in mammoth theatres. So the obvious answer is the big difference with that, and then going back to the New London Theatre in London, is the intimacy. Yeah. And the intimacy was incredible, because literally the stage stopped and then there was the first line of the audience. And we had the pipes under, you know, in the rubbish, and we literally come out and be on the audience's feet. So to have the audience that close, where it was on the proscenium arch, more often than not, you've got a great big gap where the orchestra pit was, because the musicians are backstage somewhere and stuff like that. And I think both have got advantages. The uniqueness of the New London Theatre in the round, where, like Paul was saying, you can see the show from different angles and sometimes see a completely different show. And then you've got the proscenium, where everybody sees the same show. Yeah. And you see it from the front, and everyone's dancing to the front, because in the round, we all kind of dance out to everybody. So that's the main difference. But if you ask me if I had a favourite, and you didn't, but I'm going to tell you, I would say it'd be the New London Theatre. Yeah, it was a unique space, wasn't it? It really, it was a really genius idea to have the show there. You know, there was, I don't think there is or was another theatre space like it, is there, in London, really? That the show could have fitted into, like.
That's what Andrew was looking for, somewhere perfect to put it. And one of his interviews, he said that when he found the New London Theatre, it was absolutely perfect for exactly what he was looking for. Yeah. And when you find something like that just fits in, everything just falls into place in that sort of situation. And John and people like that, and Andre Neofutu, designers and people who have been involved in it for many, many years, have made it along with Gillian to what it is and to what it's become. And it's amazing. The following of Cats is a difficult matter.
It's true.
I've done it in the open air as well.
Oh, wow. Really? Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I did an Italian tour in about 2008. And went to Florence and did it in the Babali Gardens out there. We also got cancelled because of rain.
That's the right rain.
We're all made up. This is your 5-minute call, and the heavens have opened.
Oh, no.
And then we got cancelled. I did it in another place called Caserta, and when it was in the middle of this big kind of palace building place where they put on shows, and that was a unique experience again. Cold. By the time it gets to Gus and your lycra's wet and you've got to sit still in the outside, it gets a little bit chilly, but unique experiences. And
I was going to say that must have been very unusual.
Brilliant though.
Oh, we've got Jacob Brent with us, Mr. Mistoffelees. Hi, Jacob.
Hello, everyone. I'm so sorry. I confused the time, of course. So here I am.
Oh, great to have you with us, Jacob. Thanks for joining. Oh,
hi, friends. Oh my gosh. Hi.
Hi, Jason.
Hi.
Oh gosh, where are you calling us from then, Jake? Where are you at this moment in time?
I'm currently in Virginia, right outside of DC.
Oh right, so that's you might be quite a few hours behind us. And are you in front of us? I always forget who's in front and who's behind us.
I never know.
We're in front.
You're in front.
Yeah, we're 6 hours ahead of you. So it should be what, 1 o'clock there?
It's about 1 o'clock, yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, that's so good to have you with us. We're just everybody was sharing their own sort of experiences of the show to start with.
Jeff has the clock situation here for us all.
That's what I need. Thank you.
So everybody else was saying about how they seen the show or and how their auditioning process came about. So to pass that on to you, had you seen the show prior to auditioning? Were you a fan of the show?
Yes, I had seen the show a couple of times, and yeah, I auditioned a couple of times, and they always I would start auditioning when I was really young for it, and they always sent me away saying, you know, you're so like, go away.
Get some more experience under your belt, kind of thing. Yeah.
I think I was 15 when I started auditioning, and so I was.
Oh wow, very young
to like do it, right? But I just wanted to try. And then they were looking for a Pounceville in New York. He was leaving, and they needed someone to cover Mistoffelees, and I went in, and that was the day. That was my day. So that was an exciting day that happened.
Did you have a similar process of where you had to dance part of the ball for your audition, and as well as sing as well?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We danced forever. It was one of those old school like auditions, or at least in New York, they don't normally audition on the stage. I don't know. So it was one of those, like we auditioned on the stage, and there was a big rake in New York, and everyone kept falling down downstage. And then we got to the point of Cynthia and Ruby, the original White Cat in New York, asked, she was kind of she was the Chrissy Cartwright of New York at the time, dance supervisor, and so she had us do turns in second for the Mistoffelees cover, and it basically was like just whoever kept going got the part. So everyone just kept like spinning off or going down, and somehow I just stood in one place, and they were like, "Great, you're it." So no, but it was a very lengthy day, and they had me sing a lot, and kept coming in. But it was gruesome, but it was fun. It was fun because it was one I just kept getting passed through, so it felt like, oh goody, like it just, I don't know. I think maybe that helped because there was some kind of like I was having fun with the day and not like desperate to get the show. So maybe that helped.
Yeah. So you did Broadway and London, didn't you? How were there any massive differences in playing on Broadway to being at the New London? Was that a pleasant surprise for you, being asked to do London?
So I don't know. Barbara would know too. I think there's huge differences. Both are equally like wonderful. I have a preference, but I won't say. But
go on, say. I said.
No, I think I had so much more fun in London, just because I was comfortable. I knew the role. I knew what I was doing. It was a different thing because I was going there, sort of, the film had come out. So people were expecting. So that was a whole different kind of thing when you go into a show and suddenly there's expectation from you. There's people in the audience with signs with your picture on them.
Really?
They're waiting for you at the stage door.
Wow.
Like, it just turned into a different thing in London. It just really was a different experience for me. And it was fun. I loved it. I loved, it's fun being a celebrity for a second. But that comes with like pressure and you have to produce. Suddenly you have a job, a real job to go out there and do. And so that didn't get lost on me, but it was great. I think the London company was a little hands crossed when I came in, just like, who's this American coming over here? And I think I broke through that real quickly. I was just like, you know, I wasn't there to be a nasty American. I was there to play in their sandbox, in your sandbox, and you know, in your junkyard, and how do you do it here? And so I really wanted to just come in and do the show how it was over there. It was really exciting to get to perform on that original set. You know, when you're crawling around, you're like, oh my God, John Napier like built this with his hands, basically. Like, it was just, and it was so much more dangerous than the Broadway set, because suddenly they made everything like safe and clean for Broadway. And over there, it just was like, oh wow, we're just like crawling up on this, and there's like death drop right here on, you know, when you would crawl around the like for naming of cats, and we were up on something. But it was exciting. It was so fun. It was so great. It was, I loved my time in the West End.
We loved you, Jacob.
Oh, thank you.
It was a special time.
It was fun. It was fun. It was fun. And the show was a little different too, you know, like, it was just, some things were different. There were different sections. Jillian had put in different sections, and that was interesting. That was interesting to see, but I don't want to take the time, all the time.
Oh, we've all been having. I was just going to say, does anybody have any other stories that they wish to share with us? Of the, you know,
can we sneak in another audience question? Can I sneak in an audience question?
Oh yeah.
So our Jackie Bradshaw has been patiently waiting, and she was wondering if anybody wanted to talk about putting on the makeup for the show and how long that took.
Oh God.
Or didn't take.
Yeah.
$1 million question.
Hi, Jackie. I know Jackie. Jackie's like a friend of mine, which is really nice. Hope you're well. Jackie, it took, some of us will wear grease paint, but I never ever sweated facially. Totally I did. So I didn't have to wear grease paint like everybody else. I just used normal makeup, and it worked for me in that way. But it would take a while, and I prefer to do it on my own. Some of us had it done by the makeup artists who would come in, and some of us would prefer to do it ourselves. But it's something, it becomes an art. You create your character while you're doing this. That's why I love to do that, because I'm looking and I'm making all kinds of faces and seeing what's going on in my face and how it's Strasbourg pie is going to look, you know, sort of thing. Getting myself ready for that sort of scene. And yeah, it's good. And the makeup was, it went from being the original cast to an amazing amount of things that were added on and on throughout the whole years of Cats. Yeah.
When you first joined the show, you have half your face done by the makeup artist. Then you have to mirror it and do the other half yourself. They take a Polaroid. They give you a paint chart kind of thing and a bag of makeup, and then you go away and practice. I never had the offer of an artist, Jeff, ever.
Okay, they were being nice to me.
Yeah,
but I've still got the Polaroid, which is somewhere on my Facebook of me like this, you know.
And how long it took? To begin with, a long time. You'd get in early because you practice, you go wrong, you make mistakes, but then you get used to it. It becomes like cleaning your teeth. So in the beginning, it used to take a long time. However, and then by the end, and bear in mind, I did Cats over 10 years. For 10 years, over 2 decades.
Wow.
So I was playing Gumby at the end.
I was going to say you virtually played every single lead female character kind of thing, haven't you? I don't think you've played Jelly Loram yet, have you, Barbara?
The only 2 principals I never played was White Cat, and it was never going to happen, and Jelly Loram. And I'd love to play Jelly, but I never covered her or got to play. But at some point I I played Rumpleteaser, I played Demeter, and I covered Grizzabella, and I did it a lot. Then I eventually took over Jennyanydots. I did one performance as bomb ballerina when we didn't have a bomb for the matinee, and I was dance captain, and I did it. And then we got Rosie Ford in between shows. She had a baby 6 weeks previous, and she came and played bomb that night in Woking. I got back in the show.
Wow.
So the producers were very thrilled with me that I managed, because Rosie's a friend of mine, I managed to get her in that day. So I played bomb once. I never covered it, but I knew the steps because I was dance captain.
Yeah.
And I sang Jemima when I did the first UK tour in '89. I was a second cover Jemima, but they never took me off my Rumpleteaser job. I would sing Jemima as Rumple.
Oh, right, okay.
So that was really weird, yeah. And so that was good. But going back to makeup, how long did it take? In the end, it was like, how long have I got?
Yeah.
It's the quarter. I better get my makeup on. You get used to it.
Did it just get to a stage where it was just second nature and you could just be like, right, on it goes, da, 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 and it's done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I think the time I realized that I didn't have to spend like an hour and a half on it was when several of us on the tour went off to London for an audition and all came back really late. And we just scraped the half and had to throw it on really quickly. And then I realized I didn't have to take as long as I was taking. But we had a wonderful makeup artist called Karen, who used to come around. We used to call her the makeup police, and she'd come around and spot check every now and again that everything was staying within the remit of what had been designed. So I know at one point she said to me, "I love what you do, you're a painter." And on the other hand, when it got near the end of my contract, she said, "It's getting a little bit too big, you need to come back again." So, you know, she did police indeed. And as Jeff said, the original makeup designs were nothing. I don't know when the makeup design came in, because the original company obviously were just literally, John was just painting them before they went on really quickly. At some point, I think in the early 80s, maybe around 83, 84, this kind of design came in per character. And yeah, it's absolutely thrilling. As Barbara said, you get your charts, you get your Polaroid, you have to go off and do it all on your own. And lucky Jeff that you got the offer of an artist.
It's just that I'm not very good at painting, as you can see behind me. This is what I've been up to for the last year.
It looks great.
170 centimeter painting that I've been working on. So yeah, I was all right, you know, but they wanted to look after me because I was kind of, my background was very naive to cats and various things in theatre. But, you know, I got there in the end. Yeah.
Jacob, how was it for you coming over from the Broadway production to London production? Did you have to adjust your makeup to fit in with the London company, or did you do what you'd always done from Broadway, or did you have to change that at all?
Broadway to London didn't change it very much. I mean, the makeup journey's been it was a moment for me. Like it took me about 6 months. I don't know if anybody else, it takes about 6 months to really find it on your face. I feel, I don't know. I just looked like Wolf Boy the first time that I did it. I just was like, I was horrible. But I started as Pouncival, so that makeup was a little different. Once the black and white came, it was fine. But he used to have this like eyebrow that went up. I don't know if that was still a thing. I don't know. But I sort of I was able to change the eyebrows a little bit. They let me, and then. So for the film, we really changed the makeup, sort of changed for everybody because they wanted some more. They didn't want it so like. They wanted to see the more humans coming through. Yeah. Human.
It was more kind of blended and sort of more detailed, wasn't it, for the film, rather than being as blocky, kind of to see from the back of the stalls, that kind of.
Right. So I think they wanted to tone it down because the camera was going to be so close, right? And then going back in the show and the West End, like it was back to what I'd known it to be. But that was fun, yeah. And it's same thing as Paul said, like you learn, like I got thrown on, the first time I was thrown on Mistoffelees, I think it happened, he went off and like Tugger, and by the ball I was on. So you just like, suddenly you're just there and there's brushes going and you realize, oh, I can do this in 10 minutes. Right. It might not look great. I don't think it was film ready, but you know, you've got something on, you look like a cat, and you put on the unitard.
It worked. It worked.
Yeah.
Time pressure does amazing things. We had one more audience question, which I thought was really interesting. This is from Claire Harper. She asked if anybody has performed the show abroad in a different language, and if so, what was that like? How long did it take you to relearn the songs and all that? Anybody go over and do it in Germany? Okay.
I know people who went to Germany and did it a lot, but personally, I didn't get that opportunity. Would love to have done though, but no.
I mean, it could still happen. They are getting ready to open it back up in Vienna, right, Chris? Isn't it coming back like next week or something in Vienna? Yeah. So head on over. I actually went to see it. It was I saw it right before COVID came, and it was beautiful. It was next to seeing the original London at the New London Theatre. It was the closest I think I've been like to having that experience again. It was beautiful. It was really well done.
Have we got any more questions? No. I think
I'm scanning the chat, making sure I didn't miss anything. If
I think we're caught up.
So I think unless there's something we've missed, I think we've gotten all of our audience questions so far. So
I'm just wondering if any of you had any other thoughts or any other stories you want to share with us. Maybe Paul, you mentioned you've actually got a piece of the actual stage, haven't you?
I have. I mean, I have to say this, in case this comes into Cameron McIntosh's vision. I didn't get this off the set when it closed. A friend of mine did and said, you were in it, so why don't you have it? So here's a bit of New London set.
And I thought only Scotsmen did that in Wembley.
It's from up in the circle, they said. When they saw the last night, they just happened to unwire it and grab it and run. And it just so happens that they happened to give it to me, even though I was there at the last night. But I do have it, and I haven't had it very long, actually. They only gave it me a few months ago. But there you go. A little bit of genius. Genius. And some people get to keep stuff, but I didn't really take anything at the end. I took some I was given leg warmers, arm warmers, and I had bags of shoes that I'd got through. So I have kind of those types of things that I've kind of kept. And I've even really been up the loft today before the thing and gone, these are the shoes, these are my shoes. And they don't smell too good. They don't smell too good, but they're pretty worn. And I've got like 16 pairs of these or something. It's crazy. But yeah, that's all. I don't have anything else, I promise.
Oh, have any of you, the rest of you, got any little souvenirs from the show that you were allowed to keep, bits of costumes and stuff?
Well, we would have had something at the New London Theatre when we had Antonio Banderas come in, and he the next day turned up with all these chocolate cats that were covered in this, the foil for each character. He had them all made prior.
Wow. Oh, fantastic!
But yeah, unfortunately, yeah, I love chocolate that much. I ate mine.
Oh, Jeff!
I mean,
oh God,
understandable. I like costumes, and I have a few lycras. I think I've got a couple of wigs, a few tails, and a lot of jazz shoes. Jazz shoes.
Yes.
How about you, Jacob?
When I had my jazz shoes, that they would be so slippy before they were worn in that when I went on stage the first time, I nearly fell on my ass. And the last show that we did, everybody was doing a bit of acro as they were taking the last battle. And I did a handstand but you know, the big costume came down a bit, so it kind of was a bit revealing on that last bit, and I got a big applause for it.
I was just going to say, have
I did not want to keep that costume.
Where would you keep it, Jeff? What would you do with it? I mean, it's huge, absolutely huge.
Put it in a washing machine for about 6 hours.
I was just going to say that, do any of you have any memorable mishap stories or moments of where there was a bit of mischief going on stage that you could share with us?
I do remember, I'm not going to say any names, but Barbara may know this, but I'm not going to reveal a name, but we did have an understudy that could never sing the correct lyrics. And this particular understudy she went on for Griddlebone. And of course, we spend a lot of that number sitting and listening, really. So lots of sniggering and shoulders going, where he was described as, you know, being his coat of indisputable brown and all this kind of stuff. It was all that going on. And on our last performance, several people changed characters. So some boys played girls and girls played boys. And there was lots of stuff. There was even lyric changes going on involving Barbara's actual name, but it's really rude, so I'm not going to say it. Do you remember that, Barbara?
Yeah, Scott Davis.
Scott Davis. I'm not going to finish the sentence, but it was, do you know Barbara King? Da, 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 but we won't say the rest of it. It was filmed.
Correct lyrics.
You remember the moments and the words that were changed in the last night through the moments of happiness, you know?
Happiness.
Yeah.
I always think that's in memory as well, where she sings happiness. I remember the time of happiness, and I always think whoever played Grizz didn't say it properly, it broke up to be happiness. Yeah.
That in your head, that's horrendous.
I can never unhear that.
Oh gosh, has anybody got any other stories they want to share with us? Jacob, how about you?
I don't know what I don't want to get people in trouble. I don't want Jillian to like send like bad vibes to me, because I know she's probably now Jakob. She would say now Jakob. Yeah, I was pretty much a troublemaker in the show. I was the one that was always getting people to do stuff, and of course we would say like pass the object or something, or the best was like sensual section, when we'd all come up and everyone knows, yeah, and you would just tie people's tails together and they wouldn't really know it, and then like Mcready, and they would just like get up and try to run and fall down. Yes, I loved doing that. That was the best. And then I'd be like, who is doing this? Yeah, but it was good. I felt like it was, you know, however, other people feel like you could get away with sort of a lot in that show. Because there's a lot of times you're in the dark on some trash, really looking at you, and you know, you get in trouble. But I got in trouble a lot. But then, and then I had to like, you know, kind of be good, because I was, you know, people were looking up to you. But I did like, it was very fun. I think that's what kept us in the show for so. I mean, Barbara, do you feel like that? I mean, that's why I did it over 10 years. I think that I never really got bored doing the show, because there's so much, you know, there's so much that you can get away with and bring to it and always find. And then, you know, it's just so freaking hard. It's the hardest. It's just doing that choreography. Like you really can't get bored. I don't think. I think it's really hard to get bored. I mean, the process sometimes gets like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to put on this costume and the makeup and the wig, and it's 2 show day and I'm so tired. But the show itself, right?
You never, well, you did do it, Jacob. doing this. I could have lived without the Siamese and Siamese rehearsals.
Oh,
Do you know what, Barbara? It's so funny you bring up the Siamese, because that's exactly what Rhea mentioned last week, was that she said you got to, certain days and you got to that point and you just kind of wondering, why we're doing this? It was kind of like, it was like a collective sigh amongst the cast of the Siamese.
and follicles a lot of the time. Those bloody sack heads on our head. Sorry to swear.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
We used to do some themed bows,
mhm.
I remember, on the tour. So we'd have a theme, and a couple of them that I remember one was fame. So we'd come on and we'd react to that. And another one was you've just won the lottery. So we'd make our bows individually. And we'd have theme. I used to love themed bows. They were good fun. On a Saturday night at the end of the week, we did that.
That's fantastic.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It was job satisfaction, that job. It hurt. It was hard. But you just kept going. Even during cast changes were a nightmare. All those rehearsals and having to do the show at night. And you're literally, I used to be in between shows with my feet up on a chair, maybe having a little nap, trying to get some food, and then dragging myself on stage again to try and do the show. Like I said in my post the other day, trying to lift your legs on that last show of the week was hard, but you still had to do it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have swapped it for anything, because there's never been another job that's made me feel like that.
Yeah.
And it was job satisfaction.
I'm guessing on those days, getting through and past the Jellicle Ball must have been a real sort of marathon slog, kind of a mammoth amount of energy just to get you through there, and mentally as well as physically. And I can imagine where you sort of having getting through the infamous sort of Princess Louise section to going into your old must have been like a big breath and right, we're on the home stretch now, here we go. It must have
but you know what, I never not loved dancing that ball to that music, that choreography. You can't, it's exhilarating, it really is.
You never not wanted to do it full out. You basically you wanted to honor that choreography because it was so unusual and so difficult to achieve, but you never not wanted to do it full out. But I remembered on Saturday evenings, the MD used to play the ball slightly faster so we could all get through it.
Yeah.
Because that's how exhausted you are. That's how tired you are on the Saturday. You are absolutely done. So we used to speed up the tempo for us to get through. And I never really believed that when you first did it, your stomach would pump to the degree where you might start to throw up. And in my first few shows, that was my experience, that you are so exhausted and your body's so doing things that you didn't expect it to be doing once the book finished. And then of course on you still exhausted. It's truly exhilarating. It truly, and I'm just proud. There's a whole bunch of them that did it and got through it and still do it, and it's still going on somewhere, and I think it always will.
For sure.
I think so too.
I totally agree.
It's one of those shows, right? It's become a whole cultural institution.
It's the hardest show. I think it's the hardest show ever. I think so. And it was like running a marathon every night. You would just run and it was the best style. Anything you want to do.
And I did.
Go after the show, and your cheeseburgers, and you're just like, because you're just like all that is just burning off. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
In that sense, and to be around the whole company that's like at the top of their game, like you feel like you're just with Olympic athletes, like you're all just like there. You're on the stage, you're doing it. And it's a great feeling. It's an awesome feeling, and still doing it. I don't know if any of you still have that music, and you're like suddenly you're like in England. It's just triggering in a great way, and so
Do you find yourself, if you do hear the music, do you find you just slip into that sort of cat mode straight away, and it's there, and you're sort of dancing it in your head, or you're marking it with your hands or whatever? And does that sort of literally, it's there etched into the back of your skull? It's there with you forever.
For me, it is. I mean, and Barbara probably this. I mean, we did it for. To me, it's just ingrained. I can't hear it without thinking where I go, or oh, now I go and I do this backstage. Like I just run the track through. It's incredible. But I haven't seen it in a while, so I did watch a little bit this weekend because it was on, and that was really fun. But it was weird. I was like, oh my god, it was so skinny.
I was just going to say, what was it like for you, Jacob, looking back at that? That must have been quite a sort of odd thing, going, wow, there I am, for and things. I think when the film came out, did that kind of generated a new kind of fandom that probably hadn't been there before? Do you think?
Well, we didn't have any idea what the film would do. This was before really any kind of film musicals came out. Like, there was a little bit. I
think it was the first one, wasn't it? There was
Sunday in the Park with George, I think.
This had been filmed,
and they had filmed a few.
Sorry, breaking up.
But they had really like put the camera on this. Oh, sorry. They really. Are we good? We good? Yeah.
Yeah,
they really just put the camera on the stage, and they filmed it. And this was really like shot as a film on the stage with like cameras and angles, and we took time and set up shots, and it took about a month to do, or about 3 weeks to do, and we had no idea. We thought this is going to either be. I think it kind of felt like the original, right? Like this is either going to be brilliant or we're going to get booed out of town. And it came out and it just hit, and it hit with kids in particular. And I think the kids understood the story, whereas the adults always try to make it like, I don't understand what's going on. And children just get it. They get it. It's very simple. And they get what it is about, and they get the forgiveness, and they get the movement. And I think that's why, it works so well in every country, because it doesn't matter what language it's in. Dance is a universal language. We understand that.
Children live with that imagination, and the imagination of the train and everything else went on. It's incredible that they just connect straight away. Whereas an adult, I don't get it. What was that all about? Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Right. It's not, but yeah, you didn't get it. And you had to overthink it. And so I love that. Oh my God, that train. Wasn't that the best when you build the train and get applause and you just, yes. I don't know. It's just be like, woohoo. Applause.
When it all suddenly comes together. Yeah. I thought it was always amazing. I mean, the dancing for me is watching all the cats out there. I mean, my role as Deuteronomy wasn't as long as you guys, but watching the cats, I used to just think, my God, I'm glad I don't have to do all that. And the fact is, I couldn't. I wasn't trained as a dancer, but I really admire how you all were able to do that night after night. It was incredible.
Oh, thank you.
A lot of food, a lot of sleep.
A lot of training.
A lot of love.
Training too.
I think that's it.
Did all of you at some point when you learned the show, did you hit that wall where you just break down and cry one day because you just think, there's no way I'm going to learn all this. I cannot. I can't do this. I can't. And then suddenly you just keep, and either Chrissy or Richard in New York or something would just come on. You will just keep going over it and keep going. And suddenly you know the show. But there is that moment where you just think, I'm never going to be able to do this. This is too much. It's too hard.
Definitely.
Chrissy was always soft. Sorry. Carry on.
I was just saying the repetitiveness of the rehearsals. We do the opening number and we finish. Right, okay, again, from the top. Again. It was consistent. It really built up our stamina.
Yeah.
But it was hell at the time. It really was.
She was such a soft voice person that she was always coming at you with, notes and things. Not like other directors who would be in a different way. She was always calm and nice about everything that she said. And when you get that sort of positive feedback, it does help, especially when you're tired. And as you say, I mean, in learning the name of a cats, I think was probably one of the most difficult parts for me to get inside my head for some reason, because I'd had an operation just about 4 weeks before it and ended up with bacterial meningitis.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah. And then I went into the show, and it was like everything that was going on inside my head at that particular moment was like everything was like a shock to me. But I got through it because I have that kind of personality where I must do it. I must do the best that I can. And if I felt that I didn't, I wouldn't take too long and say, look, I can't do this. But I never had the word can't. I always had the word do it, try it, keep going. And it worked.
Oh, fantastic, Jeff. That's absolutely amazing. I didn't realize that you'd gone through that
I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. I was 2 days unconscious. And I had 3 lots of antibiotics going into my arms because they had to give me this, what they call like a domestos thing to kill the bacteria that was on there. And I mean, even Dr. Keith, I don't know if any of you know Dr. Keith. Yeah. He used to come in and give me these injections to actually help me build up my immunity because, and that's what was difficult in the beginning, but I got through it. I kept going, through it and making it happen.
So it was a real challenge for you then going into it, having come out of that illness, probably a bigger challenge than ever, like you say, learning to dance, as well as trying to get the show to sink. And it must have been a real challenge for you. And like you said, you had the determination to push through it though. And
I came from a very impoverished background. It was like our mates were townies and things like that. I could relate to Cats and the Rum Tugger. I could relate to him in the way he was and his attitude, and I could relate to the other cats as well in that sort of sense. And with that sort of type of personality, I thought I brought and managed to hold on to something that I could bring with old Duke, in that sense of being the wiser one that's lived in so many different kind of areas, which made it, for me, my personal unique way of actually doing what I was told to do, but putting my little stint on it. But sometimes trying to remember the words after that particular time, because there was like a vibration always going on inside of my head at the time. It was every night was a fight, and it just tired me out, And as you said, it gets to the point where I went to, anybody go to Elizabeth Sharp?
Yeah.
Andrew?
Yeah.
I went to Elizabeth Sharp because after the stress of everything, I needed my neck and my back and then cricked and cracked, and but I did it, and then went straight back into Les Mis, and that's another heavy role to go into, but that's who we are. That's what we love, and but I feel sorry for them. We who go to theatre just last year and got the big roles and and rented apartments and gone down to London and had expectations and their aspirations about what they're going to do and what they're going to become. And then all of a sudden, bang, nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if that happened to us, how that would be, you know. But I wish Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber, Cinderella, Cats, Les Mis, Fans opening up, that we're going to hit that West End and Broadway like in Japan, like it's never been hit before. And I'm so proud of Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber for being such an incredible leader in what he's been doing over the last year. Incredible. I'm very, very proud to have known that man.
He's kind of been, I know this is going to sound really naff, but he's kind of been our Deuteronomy in some respects, because he has led, and, you know, we all just look up to him. And certainly he's just, I mean, just Cats alone. If he'd only have done Cats alone, I still love the music.
Are we still here, or have we got cut off? Oh.
I'm looking at as the kids, the dancers in the show that are just graduates professional pantomime. Some of them already had a contract for Cats in China, you know, and so of course, as you've just said, Jeff, absolutely. Aren't we lucky that maybe we got to do what we did, and then hoping that those people that are going to become the future of our profession don't get thwarted by this really terrible interruption. Yep. Absolutely.
I think going off what you've both said there, you know, it just seems like Sir Andrew has become the standard bearer for the business, and then, you know, leading by example from doing the you know, the socially distanced concerts that he did last year, to show other people that it is possible that that theatre can happen again. And like you've already said, you know, the shows are going to be reopening in the next few months, and you know, we are going to return. It wasn't the end of you know, it wasn't the end of theatre, and obviously for some younger people it was, well, for quite a lot of people it was devastating. You know, there were shows that, you know, literally, you know, some didn't open at all, some only ran for one performance, some only a couple of shows, and, you know, that was, you know, it was completely heartbreaking to see that, you know, when you've got friends in the business and they're having to move back home to the parents because they can't live in town anymore and all that kind of thing. But you know, hopefully moving on, you know, things are going to, you know, return back to some kind of normality. And you know, I'm sure that Cats is going to have another life over here as well. I don't think you know, I don't think we've seen the last of it in the UK by any stretch of the imagination. You know, I think it has just been a production that's finished in Seoul, is it? I think in Korea, has just finished, and I think the Austrian production is about to reopen or has reopened. So, you know, it's looking like you know, Cats as the show, it isn't going anywhere. You know, it's here with us forever, and I'm sure that at some point in the next year that we'll be seeing something of it again over here. I hope we do. I'm just looking at the clock now. We've actually been here for nearly 2 hours. So I just was wondering if any of you had anything more to add to say that you'd like to say or share with us before we wrap things up. Anybody? Open the floor to you all there.
I just like to say thank you, John, for the invitation.
Oh no, thank you for joining us.
You guys.
Barbara, have you got anything?
Honor. Thank you.
Oh,
no, thank you. I wanted this to be. I thought, you know,
probably got lots.
I thought, you know, that it was just a lovely thing to try and make happen, and you know, try and get as many people involved as who were available, and who wanted to mark the occasion. I did have messages both from Rhea Jones and from David Ashley apologising for not being able to join us today, but they both send their regards to you all and send their love. You know, it's just been a lovely way to spend an afternoon with you all, and I thank you very, very much. It's been a really a memorable occasion. So Jacob, would you like to say anything, add anything more to into the mix?
No, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for asking me to be here today. I appreciate it. I love talking. It changed my life, and I just love I love that people are still loving the show after all this time that it's been running. That speaks to something that, you know, Andrew and Jillian and Trevor, and that they're all created this. And it's always so nice to meet other cats too, because there's this instant kinship that we all have, because we've all been through the same like boot camp, and we have done it. And so it's everywhere I go, you can meet someone that's been in cats, and there's automatically this instant relationship because you know.
I'd like to say thank you for inviting me and us, and thank you for listening. Really glad you find it interesting. Paul Mcready, I've not seen you since we did Cats in the 90s. And I've not even seen. Are you on Facebook?
Yes, but I'm under a different name. Professional name when I went back to drama school. So I'm Paul Cleveland on Facebook.
Okay.
But when I was training Mum in the wardrobe of Love Never Dies.
Oh my God.
Yeah. To get me through drama school, I was Robertson, but your mum was working with her intro. See how weird it is?
Yeah,
please
absolutely.
do. Yeah.
Small world.
I used to just turn up and.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. And Jacob, adore you. And we've not seen, I mean, we've seen each other on Facebook and stuff, but it's like Jacob was saying, it's like yesterday, if we were to each other in a cafe, we'd sit down as if we were just in the dressing room or the green room and just chat. It's been, and see Jacqui today, and I've not seen Jacqui for ages. I just wanted to say something because Jacqui says about that she didn't get Grizz the first time she auditioned for it, because Andrew said that she made the Touch Me sound too easy, and it needs to be hard and painful. When I did it, it was hard and painful, believe me.
Well, it wasn't, Barbara, because I was there when we were doing Grizz, and you were a great
Bless your
Grizz.
heart.
You're a fantastic Demeter, the best Demeter.
Keep it coming, keep it coming.
Why not?
Hey, I remember the first time I saw you play Grizz, and I was like, why aren't you doing this all the time? It was like, I was gobsmacked. I'd seen you in as Rumpleteaser and as Demeter when we first became friends, and I just remember you saying, "Oh, I'm going on as Grizz tonight," and I was like, "I need to get a ticket. I need to see you do Grizzabella," because I'd never seen you perform that part, and when I did, I was just
what? As an understudy, John, as an understudy, I got to do that a lot. Well, you do in Cats, don't you? Because you get on for your cover a lot. I mean, I did it for. And over a class change as well. Hey, got some pictures, some nice professional pictures of it as well. But it was hard. It's a really hard, lonely role to play. And I was off stage. I was worrying about where the next voce was coming from and kept warming and stuff like that. And I found it challenging. You know, when you don't, I wasn't one of those singers that can just produce that. I had to keep warming up and make sure it was there and tell myself that I can do it, because it is really hard.
And you did, and how? Miss King.
But once that white cat touches you, then you're going up to the heavy side head, it's relief and enjoyable.
You were fantastic, Grizz. You were fantastic. And what was great is, like, because I was on with when you got to go on a couple of those times and the West End, because Grizz comes in sort of so late that you kind of like the list, you know who's on, but you kind of forget almost, because it's like 15, 20 minutes into the show where Grizz comes on. And I remember being in it and then, oh, we're going to do this tonight. Yes. Okay. Oh, she's on. Yes. And then you just would give this amazing performance. And it was always so fun to be on with someone, that new energy that when someone goes on as a
absolutely.
Right, this is new.
God,
okay,
I loved it when for the first time, that they were amazing moments. And just having different people on all the time. So that's what made it different as well.
It kept it fresh, I'm guessing, for you all. Reason. Yeah. It kept it completely fresh for you, and like you say, it gave you a new energy on stage, having different people. Fresh.
Yeah, I remember this one time in New York. I know we're trying to wrap up, sorry. But I'm
loving all of this.
We were down, it was one of those times where you're down like 7 people, right? So they called somebody in to play Cassandra, and I jumped up on stage and I went to do magic with her and was like, I don't even know who you are. Like, who is this? Like, we had never done it, and you just like sniffing somebody, and you're like, you just got to go in there and but that's what was always really fun.
I had a situation once when I was saying earlier, I'm studying Grizz and I was off in the UK tour because I ripped my ankle in my stilettos coming off the heavy side layer and while I was off in London with my foot bandaged up, I'm not able to perform, and I'd been to the physio that day, needed a Grizz in London one night. Claire Burt was playing the role and they were down. And I'd spoken to the office because I wanted tickets for Oliver at the time. They remembered I was in town. Went in to play Grizz in London in a company that I hadn't worked with.
Oh, wow.
That was really weird. Yeah. Some people I knew, some people I didn't. Through the makeup, everybody looks like somebody you know. And I don't know how I did 4 shows. Don't know how I ever did that, but that was incredible because that was the first time I played Grizzabella in London as well. Because I'd just done it on the tour a couple of times, literally a couple of times. So it was a big, huge moment for me that I survived, fortunately.
And you didn't have to fake the limp.
No, not at all. I didn't do the opening. Yeah, no, I didn't have to do the opening.
Oh, guys, I'm really sorry to have to do this to you, but we are going to have to wrap things up because we're going to get cut off in the next few minutes. So all I can say is thank you from myself and John over in the Netherlands, and on behalf of the Theatre Talk team, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute joy and an absolute thrill. Thank you very, very much. And I hope you have enjoyed the rest of what's left of your evening, and I hope to speak to you all again soon. Maybe not the 80th anniversary, eh? Maybe not that far ahead, but it'd be lovely to speak to you again in the future. Thank you for today, and it's been great. So, love to you all. Thank you very much. It's been great, and hope to see you all again soon. Jellicles forever, people.
Jellicles.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Bye.